Greetings. This is your brother Elder Black Light. This right here, I promise, is going to be deep. This one is going to be talking about the Supreme Being. And I'm going to use Muhammad Ali as an illustration or example. This is Savior's Day 1974. Now this is the same year that Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad set Muhammad Ali down around this time off his post as a minister because he wanted to continue on fighting, and the messenger, Allah, the messengers, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, didn't want Ali to be a boxer. But Ali had to get his point across and get his title back because he knew he could beat George Foreman. But also, in this other year, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's sons was pulling on him, and so was Wallace D. Muhammad influencing him. So the messenger took back the name Muhammad Ali and set him and gave him off his post. Eventually, he went off his post as being minister. And this is why he went with one of the reasons I believe he went with Warf Deen. And also, I believe at this particular time, Warf Deen was pulling at Farrakhan too. Now, when Muhammad Ali contracted a Parkinson's disease, there was a lot of controversy about how he got it. But after that, he didn't talk that much no more. But the Supreme Being was using Muhammad Ali as an illustration, and a lot of brothers in the Nation of Islam, they couldn't figure out what their post was really about and what they were supposed to do. A lot of people join the Nation of Islam for many different reasons, and many a time it's not for the right reasons. But Muhammad Ali was up against the Mafia because the Mafia had the fight game sold up. And one of the Mafia or gangsters was our brother, Don King. And Don King had betted against Muhammad Ali on the Foreman fight. So we're going to use the fight as an illustration before we get too carried away. And then I'm going to tell you that a lot of you young ones just now joining the conscious movement, or just not figuring out that you're being trespassed upon. Watch this real good because there's a lot of strategy in this. We're going to take this back to the George Foreman fight, and we're going to break it down.
We have Brother Minister Henry from Temple number 13 also with us on his big stand. Springfield.
Out of the dressing room, and all of the questions will be answered. This is an awesome bar of George Foreman
against the finely boxing skills of Muhammad Ali. Here comes Ali. You can see him there very
he had defied the U.S. government by not going into the Army and won by the Supreme Court.
Tremendous confidence of this tremendous athlete. It's age against youth. The experience of Muhammad Ali against the youth and brute force on blinding speed. You can hear the band beginning to strike up.
Now, brothers all over admired Ali, but they didn't know behind Ali was not only the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but Master Farad. Ali couldn't see this. He had stars in his eyes, you know, he had dollar signs in him. But really, Ali wanted to be the greatest. He wanted to go down in history as being the greatest, which happened to him. But we're going to get into the strategy of the fight right quick. This is going to be a continuation.
Really putting the stare on each other. George Foreman has that serious look. Ali definitely talking to him. Shifting left for right. George moves slow. Ali gets the first punch in. Looking to drop that left hook. From Zaire, Africa.
See, Ali knew that he was faster, and Ali could hit hard, but George Foreman was kind of like a Superman. George Foreman was strong. So Ali tried to get into George Foreman's mind. It didn't work all that much, but gradually he got into George Foreman's mind. Now, from the white man's point of view, they thought that George Foreman could demolish Muhammad Ali because of Ali's age. But with age comes wisdom and experience. But Ali always was a strategist. You got someone big, real big, younger, and stronger. Now, Ali wanted George Foreman to punch himself out because he had seen something in previous George Foreman's fights on a video that made him plan his strategy. Now, what does this has to do with what's happening to us today with this coronavirus, with a whole lot of things happening at one time? We're dealing with an enemy that's got all types of weapons. Big enemy. He's big enemy. But it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. But you got to strategize. What the enemy is counting on is using money as a weapon to dominate you with. See, because you think without money you won't make it. Most of y'all think that. That's why you got brothers on YouTube battling with each other, because some of them get more money on the viewership, subs and everything. They can sell their brand and go on tours and get rich quick. So your enemy wants to control you. Now, he wanted to control Ali, to use Ali for his example. I'm talking about the enemy. But the Supreme Being, after Ali won his battle with the U.S. Army, Ali started, you could say, ego tripping. Just like the rest of these brothers out here, once they get a certain notoriety and a certain fame, they start ego tripping. But the one thing about Ali that a whole lot of athletes and sports people didn't do, entertainers too, was Ali did give back to his people. Till he got so decrepit with Parkinson's disease that someone else had to manage his affairs for him. And they didn't care about, they didn't have the same point of view that Ali had. Ali loved his people. But he didn't listen to the messenger. When you don't listen to the messenger, you're not listening to the Supreme Being, Master Farad. So this is going to be a continuation. The name of this video is Supreme Being. Stay with me on this one.